Hello everyone, Don here again with the update on my Corsair landing gear lights for indicator lights for up and down. My last video I showed the circuit pretty much working, but I had a wire connected wrong to where the red light wasn't going out when one of the other lights was coming on, but it worked right. And after the video I seen it and I fixed the wire, just moved it and worked fine. But another problem came into play when I decided to go ahead and hook up a trigger here to activate the switches. So this is the original window regulator out of a Mustang, a late model, Fox body Mustang 80s series. And then you'd have what would be a down switch, which would be in the airplane, and a single up switch, which is also in the plane already, just for the actuation of the motor, hydraulic motor for the pump. The tail wheels, this just runs a tail wheel, and then you have the hydraulics that run the mains. So the mains have two switches on each side, one left, one right. Both of them have to be up, and the switches have to be active in order to turn the pump on and off. So what I found out was when I made this little jig here to attach this to the motor and I tried to test it, the gear would go down fine, come up fine, but then it wouldn't come off of the up switch. Because the way I had to wire it in series for ground to make the lights work and the circuit work, it wouldn't let the motor run because it removed the ground that was actuating the relays. So just the one relay, so it wouldn't come off of the up switch. So in the end I finally had to add a second switch, micro switch. There's two here you can see. I had to add the second one just for the red light. So when you hit this switch up here, the red light goes off and then the green light comes on, indicating gears down and locked, and then vice versa. When the gear's in transition, it'll turn back to red, and then when this switch activates, the top one turns off the red light and turns on the blue light, and it also shuts off the motor. Before it worked fine. You can go down, come up, but it wouldn't go back down. It wouldn't come off of this switch because the ground was open that energizes the relay. So, excuse me, I've had this damn sinus chest cold for a month, and the wife's had it even longer, and we've both been coughing up a lung for the last month. So, the mind's pretty much cleared. I'm just finally getting rid of this phlegm in the lungs, basically. Okay, so something new that I didn't have in the circuit before is this little circuit board right here. And what it is it's an LED driver board. It's designed for driving LEDs. Now you got an amp current adjusting or voltage limiting. You can limit it either through amps or through voltage. So I bought these when I was playing around with LED lights to run my to put some nav lights on the plane. Well, I ordered, I said I ordered a pack of 25 of these red, green, blue LEDs. Well, it took like 2 weeks just before they even shipped them, and then it took another week to get them. And I only ordered 25, and when I got this pack, I was like, that's more than 25. So I opened it up, counted them, and actually they sent me 100, probably because they missed sending the damn things. But anyway, one of the problems I have with these LEDs is, and I've seen it before, red, green, and blue all have different voltages. As you can see, the red only requires 2 to 2.2 volts input for the current and everything. The green and blue require 3 to 3.2 volts. So what I did with the last setup with the two little LEDs is I just put a resistor in line with them to drop the voltage from basically the 13.5 volts that you would see, 14 volts from the aircraft's alternator system down to the 2 volt range. And you had to use a pretty high resistor. I can't remember how many thousand ohms it was. And it also called for a 1/4 watt resistor, which is a pretty big resistor for a small one. I got a resistor in this red one right here, this tiny little resistor right there. That's an 1/8 watt. So eventually over time that resistors will get hot, especially when the gear is up and you're flying the blue light will be on, so that blue light's going to be running the whole time you're out flying, and that resistor could get pretty warm, a 10 watt resistor. So by using this driver, I can control the amps, current, or voltage. So what you do is, so what I had to do with this setup is I had to set it up for 3 volts. I wanted to use the lower side because between 3 and 3.2 you don't see much difference in the brightness of the light. So the lower the voltage you can get away with, the better, and it'll make the bulbs last longer. So I set the voltage up with this thing, and this is like a 24 or 25 turn potentiometer. So I had to hook the meter up to it and hook power to it and turn this voltage up until I got to 3 volts. Now the 3 volts is good for the green and the blue, but it's not good for the red. If you try to run the red at 3 volts, it'll burn out. So I had to use an online calculator to figure out what size resistor to use to drop the voltage from 3 to 2 volts. And it turns out it needed about 50 ohms, and I think I used a 51. I don't think you can get a 50. You can get a 49 and a 51, but not 50. So I throw a 51 ohm resistor in the red light. So, and then these are what the bulbs actually look like. Come on, let's focus. It's, if I get a finger on the thing, it's got 4 tails, just like that. You can see, okay, the left one is red. The second one from the left, the longest one, that is power in. The third one is green, and the last one is blue. So red, power, green, blue. And these are 5 millimeter, I believe. Yeah, they're like 200 thousandths in diameter. So you hook up power out of this is dropped down to 3 volts. So 3 volts comes out, feeds this LED, feeds these little guys. So power comes in on this long leg, 3 volts. Okay, then on the red one, coming out with the red one, to drop it, I had to put that 50 ohm resistor, 51 ohm resistor in there. And that goes through the ground circuit, so that takes care of that. Okay, then the other thing, this is the speed controller for the motor, so I can speed it up and slow it down, which I need that in the airplane. Okay, so then the amps is set up for a current of 20 milliamps, but because I'm going to have 3 of these LEDs on at one time, it doesn't matter if, you know, one switches from red to green, red to blue, or whatever. If you got all 3 red on, all 3 blue on, all 3 green on, you're looking at a 60 milliamp draw. So the amps, the A for amps, I will set that after I hook up 3 lights, and I will adjust it to 60 milliamps. So if it tries to pull more than 60 milliamps, it'll go into current limiting. And if it tries to pull more than 3 volts, it'll go into voltage limiting. So you just kind of set each one of these up. I got the volts set for 3, and the amps will be set for 60. And depending on as your alternator changes the voltage in the operating system, you know, between 13, 14, whatever the alternator does, this thing will not have any problem regulating, and I won't be burning them up. So, and then I went looking for these on eBay again, and I can't find these. I know I bought them from eBay, but I cannot find this exact board. But again, these are like 24 turn pots, so you got to turn them all the way counterclockwise to get them down. And then as you turn them clockwise, then you can adjust the voltage and amp draw. To do the amp draw, you have to put a meter in line or a clamp on meter and read how many milliamps. But this will be set up for 60 milliamps at 3 volts. And then so if the bulbs try to pull more, that you're not going to pull 60 milliamps with the 3 bulbs, or if it tries to pull more, it'll current limit. But if the voltage, either way, it's the voltage, they're both going to be set very close to where it'll never overpower the circuit. All right, so let me go ahead and turn on the power supply so you can see how this thing is now working. As you can see, my green light, meaning this is the gear down. The switch is connected for the gear down, and this is the up-down switch. Again, this is a 3-position switch, but in the airplane it's actually only 2-position, up or down, but it still has a 3 input. So right now it's in the down configuration. So let's go ahead and flip this down, the gear up, and the light changes to blue. And as you've seen in the transition, watch it, it'll change to red, and gear up is green. Again, transition. So now remember, there'll be 3 of these bulbs in the plane, one for each gear, left, right, and tail. And this is the configuration for the tail only. This is only for the tail. I don't need this for the mains because that's a separate circuit. And then there's two relays. These relays are already in the airplane. I'm just going to add this into the power leads going to the relays. It's very simple, power in, power out. So aircraft power in, and this is a pulse width modulation power out, which will allow me to adjust this. Yeah, this ain't going to run, but if I turn this up a little bit, you can see a little knob here, I can increase the speed again, and watch how fast it'll go. Faster. Give it a little more. Faster. Let's see, it still works fine. But the idea is I want to slow this tail down so it's, that's too slow. But it'd be something I can play with when I'm happy with how fast it goes up and down. So, and basically that's how this thing's going to work. So all I need to do is buy 3 more switches that match the switches in the plane, which are more like this lever type. These are little rollers on this one. As you push this, you can see I can change it to blue. No, it's not going to work. It's got that one off. But problem was, once it hit this switch and I did that, try to switch it, it wouldn't work the way it was wired before without this 3rd switch. So I'll go back up, gear up. So I got red, green, blue. Green means gears down, red it's in transit, blue it's gears up, and that blue will stay on the whole time the gear's up when you're flying. So go back down, and that's how it all works. And again, you can see I've got 13.5 volts going in. Let's turn it on and see what the power draw is. So 0.4 amps, and that's running the motor and everything. Okay, we can turn that off. So that's kind of what I've been up to. The weather here, we just had 6 to 8 inches of snow last week, and it was nasty, and it was only in the 20 degrees and colder. But I've been working on my car. I've got some maintenance things to take care of. I had some rocker panels, both need replaced. I got the one done, and the other one's ready to come out as soon as I get the new one to put that welded in and repaint everything. I had to change front axle. So I've been trying to do all that, you know, between the snowflakes. I couldn't get my car in the garage last weekend because of the snow, and it just melted last night, most of it. So this weekend I'll be able to get the car back in there and continue working on that. The car runs out of inspection at the end of the month, so I got to get this stuff done so I can get it through inspection. So that's going to have to do it for this update. I just wanted to show you how I was doing on this. So this circuit is now ready to go in the plane. Basically all I got to do is take the schematic down, just swap a few wires, add a 3rd switch to each gear, one left, right, and rear. And I'm going to order up probably about a half a dozen of these things just to have them. But I want them all the exact same. And then the trigger point to trigger these 2 in the plane will have to be made somehow so it hits both switches. The one switch I don't have to do anything with, but I need to. The way it comes down, it's only going to trigger one switch. You know, it's only going to push on one, so I got to make something that'll make it hit both switches. Again, the 2nd switch is just purely for the red light only, the red LED. Alright, so that's going to do her. These things, like I said, 25 of these was only supposed to be like $7, and they sent me 100, right, because they dropped the ball on shipping and got them out so late. So instead of leaving them any negative feedback, I'm just not going to leave them any feedback. They did some, and I only need 3 of these things, so I got lots and lots of spares. But that's gonna do her for what I need. So when I get down there and pull the tank someday, when the weather clears up, gets better, I'll put this in, which is a piece of cake. But I have to pull the tank, adjust my rudder pedals down for the brakes, brake pedal that is, not the rudder itself, but the brakes portion of the pedals. Wire this thing in with its own little box. I'll put the box on there, and I'll once I get this set, I'll just take the knob off so you can't affect it. I'll mount that inside. It'll be up behind the instrument panel somewhere up where the relays are up behind the instrument panel as well. And then I just got to get the 3 switches, install them. I will definitely have to put in longer screws to do it. The mains got some long screws now, and I'm hoping they're long enough that I can put a 2nd one on and just do it, because trying to change those is difficult because they're like 1/4-inch thick plates bolted to the truss assembly, and you can't take it out. I might be able to unbolt it and turn it, because the screw comes in from underneath, it's countersunk, and then the switch is held on with the nuts. So, and then I just got to make a something to trigger both switches on that. The others I don't have to touch it. So I think that's all I need to do. This little guy will be probably put in its own little box, and it'll be mounted up. I only need the one, because it will feed. It'll power. It's enough power. It'll be up behind the instrument panel along with this, because all it has to do is feed the LEDs. That's it. That's all I'm doing. Is the power goes into the board, comes out of the board to the LED. That's it. And I do have a positive and negative lug right there to the instrument panel. I can just come right off and power that, and take the powers that normally go through the relays and just run it through here and then into the relay for the gear, for the tail wheel, because this again is just the tail wheel. The mains are hydraulic. It's got its own separate motor. I don't have to touch anything on that other than just add a switch and run. I believe I still only need to run one wire out here to the switches each gear, so I need to run 3 wires, add 3 switches, put these lights in. I'm going to make a little board of some sort to mount the 3 lights in, and then they'll just slip into the back of the instrument panel and attach it in there somehow so it'll come out. It'll all be pre-wired on some kind of little board to just go in there. I'll have to drill the holes out to the size of this bulb so they just slip in from behind, and then just run the wires. And then that should do it. And then later on I'll work on nav lights, but right now I don't need any nav lights until after the plane is flying and I'm ready to do some night flying. If I ever want to do any night flying, I'll have to put the nav lights in, and strobe lights of some sort. Okay folks, that's going to do it for this update. Again, this isn't going to happen until later. The only time I've been down to the airport is just to go pay the hangar rent, which I'm going to have to do that next week again. But I may go out, depending on what the weather is, go out there and tinker, depends. I should have my car all finished up here soon, and then I can, the weather's been extremely nice for this time of year as far as lack of snow and really extreme colds, but we'll probably see some more freezing rain in that before it's all said and done. So I think that's going to be it. And like I said, this is a cobbled up mess, but most of this stuff is already in the plane and wired. I'm just doing a quick little down and dirty. It's a good thing I did this, because I would have not found this out until I was out there trying to work on it, and the gear would not come down after it's been up. So I've got all the bugs sorted out, and it's a pretty simple circuit when you look at it, but because of the difference in voltages for these lights, I need that voltage reducer there, current limiting voltage reducer, to feed these lights without burning them out. You can't run 12 volts of them bulbs. So the relays, everything else, tail wheel, that's all 12, 14 volts. All right, folks, again, appreciate everyone taking their time to watch these videos. Not much of an update, but just so people know, this is kind of some of the things you run into when you're playing with LEDs. You can't put 12 volts to them, none of them, no LED. All LEDs work in these volt range, 2-3 volts. And you got to reduce that voltage one way or another. Easiest way is with a resistor, but resistors will get hot and they're still not the best. These are the best option to do, is some kind of LED driver. So, and then that PWM is just a speed controller. I don't need that on the mains. The hydraulics work just fine on that. Okay, again, thanks for watching. Feel free to leave any comments, questions, concerns, and I'll answer them as they come along. Not sure how much more updates you're going to see on this in a while, until I get back down to the airplane and tinker around. So, but come springtime, once I get the brakes set and get this stuff thrown in there, the thing should be ready for some serious testing. I think I've got the bugs finally worked out of it. And the last couple times of the taxi test, they were doing extremely well. The only problem I had was with the brakes. As soon as I make an adjustment on that, we'll give her a couple more goes, and that should be good. All right, folks, that's going to do her. I'll get this put up tonight and today, and give you guys something to see, and then I'll catch you folks on the next one. So for now, this is Dino Don out.